Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have the weekly reading report for the week. Today is Sunday, November 16th, 2025. So we're going to be going over what I read last week, what I'm reading right now. We're going to see what I'm reading next this week. We have an update on the Read What You Own challenge, and we're going to go over for the weekday video for the channel coming up this week. I'm still getting over a cold that I had this week, so I'm going to be a bit congested. Put up with it. First up on the pile, the book club and I finished our discussion on Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I have such a hard time saying that. By Friedrich Nietzsche. I find most of it kind of silly. I agree with a lot of it. It makes me think of a lot of like my angsty teenager self back in the day. While I didn't love this very much at all, I'm very excited to continue forward and read his other texts that he put out throughout his life. I do know that further on in his texts, you kind of get his different viewpoints on a lot of the same subjects, and a lot of his opinions change throughout his life. So I'm quite fascinated to research that and to read from his end what he's got to say and see the evolution of Nietzsche. I don't think a lot of it I'm going to be picking up from my own personal philosophical canon all too much, but just as a bit of a character study, it sounds absolutely fascinating. Next up after this, I don't have the copy of it that I showed you in the previous videos anymore because I gave it back to my neighbor. Once I finished it, I finished Sirens of Titan by Vonnegut. Satire done very correctly. It's extraordinarily witty. It's sharp as a knife. Imagine if Philip K. Dick wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy instead of Douglas Adams. That's kind of pretty much exactly what it reminded me of. I had a great time with it. There is a Library of America Kurt Vonnegut set that's like 4,000 pages. It's exquisite. I might have to pick myself up a copy of that for Christmas. The next thing that I read, and I mentioned this in my previous video, I dived in momentarily, not terribly long, but I dived back into Collected Poems by Ursula K. Le Guin. When I picked this back up, I had just finished Music in Uttermost Places. There's a small collection of poems that she wrote in collaboration with an orchestral musician composer. She wrote music to go along with it about how music pops up in the utmost places in science fiction. In one of these little poems, there is a thing where the entire planet becomes an instrument. Because like the wind going through chasms and canyons and everything, and these ways of the music and the ecology and the geology coming together. The Uses of Music in Uttermost Parts is the name of it. Right after that, there is her commentary and translation and musings on the Tao Te Ching. I didn't actually read this in here. I skipped forward in here because earlier on, it could have been earlier this year or late last year at some point. I actually bought it separate here. Tao Te Ching, Ursula K. Le Guin. It's not like a super direct translation. It's kind of like Ursula's interpretation instead of a translation, and her application of it. Where I'm at now in it, I'm in a collection that she wrote called 60 Odd. It's a collection that I believe she put out right as she turned 60 odd years old. The poems in this part of the collection are so mature. They get a lot of later Earthsea. Not like direct application, but the very mature, not even motherly, but like grandmotherly tone that you would perhaps see in like Tahanu of Earthsea, book 4, where it's all just maturity and family and experience and wisdom. I guess the best word would be wisdom with all of that, and it's absolutely fascinating. I currently have it back up on the shelf, so I'm not reading it. I put it down because I've got some heavy shit that I'm kind of trying to gear and get through at the end of the year here. When I put down Le Guin, I tried to pick something up. I picked up this Passion of HG by Clarice Lispector because it's short. But then I made it 12 pages in before putting it back on my shelf, because while this is only 200 pages long, this demands so much more attention than I would be able to put into it right now. I'm probably going to get to this at this point, I don't know, early in the year 2026 at this point. As I was putting down Clarice Lispector, I decided to pick up 11/22/63 and start chipping away. This is the fatty book this month. The only planned fatty book this month. We'll see what happens. I am chipping away at this. I am actually set. I've been doing I'm right here. So I actually expect to have this finished up by tomorrow, Monday or so. I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed. I think I'm a little bit disappointed in 11/22/63. It's not that it's not giving me what it promised to give me. I think that this might not be my kind of time travel story. I'll have to keep that in mind here in a little bit when I go and read City at the Edge of Forever, Harlan Ellison, Star Trek. I'm going to be very curious to see how that fits and sits with me. Now, I am enjoying it. It's picking up a whole bunch. It's picking up very quickly here. Are you serious? I am 670 pages into this book so far already. It's turning like a page. There's parts of it that I love. I'm just not quite sure that I love this yet, which I expected this to land quite easily into like my top 5 Stephen King. At this point, I'm not sure if it'll make my top 10. I'm having a good time with it. We'll finish it up. I don't want to judge it too hard before I finish it. Like I said, I plan to finish this tomorrow. So I picked up The Blade itself. Joe Abercrombie. It's actually off camera at the moment, but I've got the 2 trilogies. I don't have the in-between-isode books, but I do have the first trilogy and the second trilogy of The First Law. I got about 100 pages into this before deciding that I was going to put all of my reading efforts into 11/22/63, which is why I'm almost 700 pages in, and I'm going to be finishing this tomorrow. I liked it. We didn't get too far in. Joe Abercrombie is very quick to introduce you to the main characters of this. Like, immediate entry of Glocta. That was fun. I'm very encouraged that this is going to be excellent. I got hit with a bombshell this week. Something kind of fell into my lap, and I want to talk about it here. Another big reason why I put down The Blade itself was because I started reading Blood on the Tracks, the manga, this week, and it has overtaken everything. In last month's videos, you saw that I was all about, I'm going to read book 1 of Blackwater, and then it just completely fucked up the entire TBR for the rest of October, and I just read the entire thing. That's kind of what has happened with Blood on the Tracks, because I was like, I'm going to read the first 1 or 2 or 3. I am now on book 8, and I have 8 through 17, the rest of it, on loan in Kindle form from the library on Libby. So while I'm putting down about 2 of those a day, I will be completed with Blood on the Tracks by the time this video pops up next week. I think it may be my new favorite manga series. I haven't read very many, and I'm very picky. And I find myself disliking stuff more than I like stuff the majority of the time. But this one is all character drama. It's horrendously sad. It's such a view into mental illness, real life mental illness. I come from a background of addicts and drunks, and I got into it, but I was able to get out of that. I'm 3 years almost sober at this point. But the mental illness in this seems completely over the top. It seems like it could be completely over the top, but I recognize the reality of it. I've seen a lot of this. If you need a manual on how not to parent your children, I would essentially say Blood on the Tracks. Coming up next week, I'm going to be finishing up 11/22/63 here within 24 hours of now. I'm going to finish up Blood on the Tracks, potentially finishing up by this time the Blade itself. After that, I probably shouldn't get anything more beyond that. I'm probably fucking up my life if I get anything more than that. We will see. We have an update on the Read What You Own challenge. As of Sunday, today, what is the date? 11/16/25. Of my goal of 12,500 pages, I am sitting at 2,138 pages. We are 17% to my goal, and that kind of fits right around, yeah, that basically fits right in there. I expected this challenge to take about 3 months, so my projected expectation is that I'm going to complete this goal at the end of January, roughly. We will see. I think it's going to be right about there. Next up, I am currently taking up a bunch of these books right here, taking a good old hard look at this Stephen King shelf to try and determine my personal top 10 Stephen King books. So we're going to get to talk about that. That's what I got going on, guys. Let me know in the comments what you're reading. Cheers.